Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Planetarium show. My name is Jessica. I am the director of the Planetarium, and with me tonight is our new familiar face, who I'll let say hi and introduce themselves.
Hello, I am Braden. I am a vocal music education student here at UMD, and I'll be giving the show today.
Yes. And as requested from last week, oh, she is not happy with me picking her up. We have our feline companion, Nova, here with us. She does not like to be picked up. All right. So our show tonight is a brand new one that has been created by Braden. I'm super excited for it. All about the astronomy connections in the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm not going
Mhm.
to spoil much or say anything else other than if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I know we've already gotten a couple of questions, but we will get to those at the end of the show.
Yep.
But until then, I'm turning it over to you, Braden.
Alrighty. Okay, I'm going to share sound as well. Um, okay, everybody. So this is Avatar: The Last Constellation. All right. Now Avatar: The Last Airbender is widely considered to be one of the best children's shows of all time. It's a rare show that has elements that can entertain both adults and kids alike. It has mature themes, heavy topics, while also being still really fun and lighthearted. An aspect of Avatar that doesn't really get talked about enough, in my opinion, is it's a very astronomical show. A lot of the very big aspects within it, very big events that happen, are entirely related to astronomy. And today we're going to look at the more look at a more like truthful, scientific, and historical perspective of the show. So before we start, I'm going to start off with a bit of a rundown on what Avatar: The Last Airbender is. If you don't know, it's a show that aired on Nickelodeon in the early 2000s, and I'm just going to let this incredibly iconic opening right here speak for itself.
Water, earth, fire, air. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old days, a time of peace, when the Avatar kept balance between the water tribes, Earth Kingdom, Fire Nation, and air nomads. But that all changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar mastered all four elements. Only he could stop the ruthless firebenders. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years have passed, and the Fire Nation is nearing victory in the war. 2 years ago, my father and the men of my tribe journeyed to the Earth Kingdom to help fight against the Fire Nation, leaving me and my brother to look after our tribe. Some people believe that the Avatar was never reborn into the air nomads, and that the cycle is broken. But I haven't lost hope. I still believe that somehow, the Avatar will return to save the world.
Alrighty, that is the intro. That is what the show opens with, and I think it kind of perfectly explains everything you really need to know about the show. There are four different tribes: Earth, Fire, Water, and Air. Each possesses the ability to bend one of those four elements, and our main character is a character by the name of Aang, who is the Avatar and is in charge of beating the leader of the Fire Nation, a character by the name of Lord Ozai. Now, a little fun fact, the character of Lord Ozai is actually voiced by Mark Hamill, which, if you don't know who that is Luke Skywalker or the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. Now, I'm going to give a brief spoiler warning from here on out as we get further on into this little show. I'm going to be spoiling so much of this show. So if it's a show that you're interested about going into blind, I would come back, check out this stream later if you can. But without any further intro, let's get into the more scientific and historical aspects of this. To start out, we're going to look up at the sun. Now, the sun is going to be the thing that gives firebenders their power. So they are able to bend fire by having the sun basically in our basically being in Earth's orbit. So the Fire Nation is supposed to emulate Imperial Japan. And Imperial Japan actually has a very special relationship with the sun. As we can see right around here, Japan has had flags based around the sun since at least 1603. So from there on, we could see that the sun was very, very important to Japan. And that is where I believe that the creators of Avatar got their inspiration for using the sun as the firebend, where the firebenders get their power. Not only that, but it's also because of the belief that is actually false, that the sun is just a big hot ball of fire. It is actually not. It is a big ball of gas. Now from there, we're going to get we're going to go a bit more analytical on the more what's the word, more like bending styles of the show. So in the show, the firebenders, they have a very explosive and more violent style of bending than the other benders. In my personal opinion, this is very, very similar to how the explosive bursts of solar flares are. You can see, I'm going to turn down the volume so you can hear me talking. As we go further and further, it's getting, now it may look like a pretty slow burst, but you gotta remember just how big the sun is and put that in context. As you can see, it's really, really just going up and exploding with some violence. And if we go to our next slide here, we can see the firebenders right here. I'm gonna go a bit further, which should be, yeah, right about here. Okay, I'll go correctly. No. Right about there. Alrighty. There you go. So you can see these intense bursts are very similar to a solar flare. Now we're going to move on from the Fire Nation here for a bit to look at the exact opposite in the Avatar universe, and that is going to be waterbenders. Now, the waterbenders get their power from the moon. Within the show, the lore goes that waterbenders learned how to bend water from watching the moon push and pull with the tides. So if we actually go to our next slide here, we are able to watch a bit of, we're able to actually check out, I believe at 934. So if we go to right about here, this is going to be a more violent display of firebending. This is happening between one of our main characters, Katara, right here, and this waterbending master right here. I'm going to turn down the volume there. So again, the way that waterbenders bend water is by using these very incredibly fluid motions, very similar to the tide. Now, a reoccurring trope within Avatar is that of spirits. I just lost some space. Is that of spirits. There are a bunch of spirits that exist within Avatar. There's actually an entire dimension called the spirit world. Um, but two spirits that we actually see in the show that are very important are going to be of the moon and ocean spirits here. Now, these two spirits are personified by these colored fish that float in the waters of the northern water tribe. And they are, I think you can pretty easily see that they are very, very similar to the concept of yin and yang. Now, yin and yang is a Chinese philosophical concept that describes opposite but ultimately interconnected forces. Now, this is where we get a bit of difference between the concept and the actual show. Within the show, the fish symbolize the ocean and the moon, which I wouldn't really describe as exact opposites. However, I would say they are deeply interconnected from the moon creating the tide. Now, if we're going to go on, now this is getting a bit outside of my expertise. Again, this is not everything I will say is going to be exact fact. These are just some stuff that I picked up from from looking at research and just watching the show itself. So if there's anything that I get wrong, we have Jessica here to fact check me, I guess. So starting off, we have again the moon and the tide. Now, how the tide actually works is from the moon essentially pulling on the earth. As we can see here, it's like this, like the tide is very shaped. The way the gravitational forces of the tide is shaped is very similar to a rubber band, as I would say. So it's essentially the moon creating this gravitational field that's like a rubber band-esque that's pushing and pulling on the earth, create leading to the water rising and lowering. Now from there, I'm going to get into some very, very spoilery territory, which is going to be getting into the exactly talking about the moon spirit in the show. Now, in the show, at the end of the first season, we see the moon spirit sadly get killed by one of the evil firebenders. And with that, we have this character right here. This character is named Princess Yue in the show. She originally, when she was born, her like heart wasn't beating, so she actually got help from the spirits in the spirit world to help her heart beat. So when she found out about this, she decided that she would be able to take the place of the moon. Now, I don't really know how that works in the lore, but essentially she just becomes the moon spirits. There's actually a lot of jokes played later on in the show, specifically in season 3. There is a joke where two characters by the name of oh my gosh, Zuko and Sokka are talking, and they're talking about sad stuff that has happened. And Sokka says, "My girlfriend has been turned into the moon." And Zuko responds with, "That's rough, buddy," which is it. One of my all-time favorite lines in the show. Now, I tried to look up to see if this concept was based off of anything. I could not find anything in my research. Um, Again, that means that it could be that UA that this story is based off of a story of a different culture, but I have not been able to find off of anything. All of the stories concerning the moon that I have found have actually been quite dark and not something that is very, very applicable, I would say, to one of these little lighthearted shows here. Now, another element that is very, very important within the show is going to be the element of the solstice. Now, the solstice, there are two types of solstices, I guess. They're known as the winter and summer solstice. A solstice is when a sun is either at its highest or lowest point in the sky for the year. In the world of Avatar, the solstice is essentially where the natural world and the spiritual world come together. In the show, we are able to see Aang here actually be able to communicate with dead spirits of the past and past avatars. There's actually a very, very wonderful two-part episode in season 1. They're episodes 7 and 8. During these episodes, you actually see Aang go into the spirit world, and he communicates with other avatars and spirits, and it's actually one of the best moments in the entire show, in my humble opinion. Now, the solstice has always been a great importance around the world. You have the you have the you have pagan rituals saying that of great feasts on the winter solstice, where they would burn a big tree and essentially just feast and hope for a good harvest in the next coming year. You have another culture that would be the Hopi tribe in northern Arizona, where they would use the solstice to celebrate ancestral spirits, especially the spirit of the sun. Now, I will say, for other tribes like that, and the Hopi tribe as well, I am a white person. It's not my culture. I do not know that much about Native American cultures, and I do not feel comfortable speaking any further on the matter. But if you are interested in learning more, you can contact the tribe directly and ask them yourself. Now, again, the solstice is celebrated all around the world. It's celebrated from Siberia, China to Sweden. It's celebrated everywhere, but each culture has its own stories and reasons for celebrating. Now, moving on, we're going to move into the Day of Black Sun. The Day of Black Sun is quite literally just a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is essentially when the moon passes in between the Earth and the sun and blocks out direct sunlight. In history, it was often seen as like a bad omen or like the wrath of God, but we no longer know that is the case, even though that was widely believed. But the interesting thing about that is that in the show, it's completely based off of that concept. As you can see here, within the show, there is actually a two-parter episode by the name of The Day of Black Sun. During the Day of Black Sun, firebenders actually are unable to fire throughout the entirety of the eclipse. Now, believe it or not, the moon moves quite fast in the night sky, so the eclipses don't really last long. But in the two-parter, they were actually able to stage a little bit of an attack against the Fire Nation and actually win a little bit. Now, I would like to point out the very, very similar nature between that wrath of God and like bad omen aspect, and how the soul how a soul oh my gosh, the Day of Black Sun takes away the powers of firebenders, creating a literal bad omen for them. Now, another interesting thing that I like to point out with this section is that the Day of Black Sun actually brings a really interesting and strange bit of knowledge within the Avatar universe, and that is that if is that raises the question if um, firebenders get their power from being with exactly how do they get their power from the sun? If an eclipse, like if is it the moon moving in front of the sun that completely like negates it, since the moon is what gives since the moon is what gives oh my gosh, since the moon is what gives waterbenders their power. We don't really know, but it is very interesting. Now, moving on, we're going to go to our next slide. That is going to be of the importance of comets within the show of Avatar. Now, within the show, there's a comet by the name of Sozin's Comet. This comet comes every 100 years. And in the show, it actually amplifies, it does the exact opposite of a solar eclipse and amplifies Firebender's powers. Again, comets in the real world would often inspire fear or dread and seen again as omens of disaster or messengers from the god. Again, this is very relatively similar to how it works in the Avatar universe. In the Avatar universe, Sozin's Comet is named after one leader of the Fire Nation named Fire Lord Sozin. In the show, Sozin actually uses that comet to actually to begin his invasion on the rest of the nations, creating the 100-Year War. Now, the comet, Sozin's comet, is actually quite similarly to one of our favorite comets in our solar system, Halley's Comet. Now, Halley's Comet has a bit faster of a reach around than Sozin's Comet. Halley's Comet comes, is it 76, every 76 years? Jessica? Yes, every 76 years in comparison to Sozin's every 100 years. But again, the comet was again seen as like this omen of destruction or like a message from the gods. Now we're going to move on to our second to last slide. Wow, this show has gone by so fast. And that's going to be Wang Shitong's Planetary Calendar Room. Now, I could not find a very good image of this for some reason, and for future shows, I will definitely find a better one. But the reason why I like to point this out is this is in season 2, episode 10, where we see Wang Shitong's library, which is a library kept up by the spirit by the name of Wang Shitong, who's this like immortal owl that essentially is just obsessed with knowledge and tries to get as much knowledge as possible. And two of the main characters of the show, Sokka and Aang, go to this planetary calendar room, which is quite literally just a planetarium. There's a machine that is operated at the middle of the room that is very similar to the starball that we have in our planetarium up here at the Marshall W. Allworth Planetarium. And the machine's a bit more archaic than ours, I'd say, but it has the same general principle. In the show, it's actually used to find out when the day of black sun occurs, which, yeah, if you have the moon and sun settings set on moon and sun settings set perfectly on your on the starball that we have at the planetarium, we could use for the same purpose. And yes, we can actually, and it's just something that's very cool because we have this exact machine here in Duluth with us. Now, if you have not been able to see one of our star shows, I highly recommend. They're at quite literally all of our shows on Friday and Saturday. So from there, that's basically all I have for you. Now it's just any questions you guys have, feel free to ask in the comments. I will stop my share from there.
Very cool. I love the
Very
show
nice.
so much. It was also like amazing to me rewatching it as an adult, especially now as the planetarium director. Right? We got to the episode with the planetarium, and I'm like, that's quite literally a planetarium. They're
Yeah,
showing a planetarium.
it's just a planetarium. It's
It's
something
what it
that is
is.
incredible. Like I it's something that's just so funny.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
it's great. So we had a couple of other questions beforehand that I will get to afterwards. I'm gonna be honest, there was a question that I don't know. It's let's see. What would happen if Luna had its own Deku Smash? I don't know what that is, and I feel very old right now.
Uh, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. There's like one
Okay,
thing that I
good.
think it might be.
It's not
Like
me.
like like the only thing I'm thinking of is like you know like the Deku tree from like Zelda. I don't. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that one. I'm assuming it's supposed to be just like a funny comment, and
Yeah.
it's going completely over our heads.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
oh,
Uh.
there's lots of thank yous, and good jobs.
Yeah. When
Um,
will the next asteroid pass Earth? I do not know.
I don't know asteroid off the top of my head. There are tens of thousands of asteroids in our solar system, hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
actually. Things fly by us all the time. I don't know a specific when the next one's going to be. I haven't seen anything about like a big asteroid flying by us anytime soon. I do know we have the comet that's currently in our skies,
Oh.
which we got asked about at the beginning. Um, so we have comet C2022 E3, um, which we talked about a few times in the show,
Mm,
but right now it's kind of making its way across the northern sky. It was in Draco on Monday. Tomorrow it's going to be in Ursa Minor, and by the
yeah.
end of the month it's going to be in Camelopardalis. I always struggle with that name.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite naked eye visible yet. I think you do still
No.
need a telescope or a pair of binoculars, but you can see it over in the north in either late night, early morning. Once we get past, actually, I think around now, I think the moon's finally out of the way. Um, yeah, and it's supposed to be making its closest approach on February 1st, I believe. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the update on the comet. We also got a question about the green flash, which I had
Yeah.
to go look up a little bit. Like I know of the green flash, but I didn't know like specific parameters or conditions. You can see it anywhere. You don't have to be in a specific location. From what I'm reading, it is ideal to have a flat horizon. So, like looking over the lake, like you mentioned, and the comet could be ideal for that. But it's really about just having the right atmospheric conditions for it to occur. So, it's more of it can happen anywhere, anytime, it, if the conditions are right. And I don't think there's a good way of predicting when that is going to be. So, good luck with that hunt, though, because that would be really cool. I've never been able to
Yeah.
see it. And for those wondering, the green flash is something that can occur at sunset when atmospheric conditions are right. The sun's light gets bent through the atmosphere in such a way that for a short period of time, we're talking like seconds, as the sun is setting, you will see a sudden kind of green pillar above the sun. It's called the green flash, which is pretty cool. But yeah.
For anyone that is interested in watching the show, it is currently on Netflix, and
Yes.
yeah, I recommend it. it's also like not long at all. It's like 3 seasons. Each season is like 12 episodes, and
It's a
each
very
episode's like
short.
24 minutes. It's so
Um,
short, sweet. This is a good show.
but once
I
you're
recommend it.
in, then you got to get
Yeah.
into, the next show, The Legend of Korra, which is about there's a whole universe that you get into, but it's great.
You need to watch Avatar first. Legend of Korra is a lot. It goes it's a lot more.
Oh yeah, I mean it definitely builds
Yeah.
up on everything that was created
Yes.
in Avatar:
Yes.
The Last Airbender. We also had a request for Nova again.
Yep.
So there's Angry
Nova.
Kitty, our feline overlord.
It's funny. My mom says she does not know the show, but I know I've definitely watched it while she was around, which is really, really funny.
She's asking for your Netflix password, so
okay.
Don't give it on stream.
The angry meow.
Oh yeah, I know. She does not like to be picked up.
Yeah.
Like she's definitely a cat that like wants to be right next to you, but on her terms.
Yeah.
So she's not a fan of being picked up, but you can see she's right there, right here. Yes, she's a tortie and has full tortitude. Okay, I don't want to stray too much from your show, Brighton, because you did a fantastic job.
You're good.
This was amazing, and I'm really excited to kind of have our new group starting to do their own shows. I mean, I know for those of you who've been watching these streams, since we started a couple years ago, you know that Eli and Lindsay did a whole bunch of shows with me as well, a bunch of their own stuff. They have both graduated and moved on in their life and careers. So we miss them, we love them, but it's also great to have our new students get more involved and start doing this as well. I know Brayden is going to be taking up some of Eli's Star Wars stuff.
Yes.
In fact, I believe we have that scheduled for next month, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I've watched and consumed so much Star Wars in my lifetime. I could probably give that show in my sleep.
So for you Star Wars fans, we will be having the Star Wars content coming back. And yeah, I know you've got at least one other show in the works. I've got Lynn, who you might remember, they've been on a few times, has a show that they're working on. It's going to be great. We've got some good stuff in the works and a great crew here.
Yeah.
So speaking of, let's do our last little bit. Here is what is going on at the Planetarium this week. So Friday's show is Journey Through the Solar System. Saturday is our last weekend of January, so the last weekend of Earth, Moon, Sun, and Oasis in Space. After that, we will be switching our Saturday shows. And then you can catch us back here on Facebook next Wednesday for What's Up February edition, because
it's already February.
January is almost over.
I don't know where it went.
I don't.
It's gone.
How are we like 2 weeks into class?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Ooh, a supernatural show. That could be interesting.
I could do that one too. I'm not okay.
Oh, there's such, and that's one of the things, like, I love continuing doing this and doing these streams is we get to have, like, do fun topics like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that we're interested in, like, turning what Brayden has done so far into an actual, like, full dome show in the Planetarium.
Yeah.
But, like, this is a fun way to, like, work on fun projects, maybe kind of float some cool show ideas, see if they work. And I love this. And hopefully you guys still do too, even after, 2+ years of seeing our faces.
Yep.
And yeah, if you have any other show suggestions or topic ideas that you'd like us to do, let us know. Yeah, Supernatural would be a big one to get into.
Yeah, no, I like that show, but it is so long.
Yeah.
And like, in order to really get into it, I don't even know how much like astronomy stuff you can
Yeah, I
do
was gonna
about
say
it.
it's definitely more creature mythology
Yeah.
than astronomy. But it could still be maybe even like for a Halloween stream, it could be a fun one.
It could be a fun one. I I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. But no, love the suggestions and ideas. Please keep
Yep.
those coming because we've been doing this for 2+ years. We need ideas.
Oh, a Star Trek show. That could be actually really fun.
Oh, Star Trek. Yeah.
I'm not a big Trekkie though. It's like my
Yeah,
I guess like
that's
the one like nerdy thing that I'm not into. I'm just that was the one I missed out on
yeah.
when I was growing up.
Same. I'm not. I'm just like losing my nerd card because y'all already know. Like I'm not into Star Wars. I never got into Star Trek. Uh,
And like that's interesting because like Star Wars was the thing that got me interested in astronomy.
see, I think part of it
Like,
for me was Sailor Moon.
oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That was a huge thing for me. Plus, just always loving the night sky. But if we're gonna do like science spacey shows that I grew up, it was definitely Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So maybe I do a Sailor Moon show. I don't know.
Maybe. That'd be fun. That'd be really fun, actually. Well, I mean, it would basically just be a deep dive into the planets.
Pretty much.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Could be cool.
It could be cool.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Again, Brayden, fantastic job. Such a fun show. If you would like to see this show again or see us build it for a full dome experience at the Planetarium, let us know and we can do that. Again, thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you in the future. Have a great night and a good week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.